Welcome to my channel. If you enjoy the video, don't forget to like and subscribe for more content. The world had fallen into chaos, overrun by a relentless virus. A virus that, once contracted, transformed its victims into mindless zombies. It was everywhere, sweeping across continents, leaving devastation in its wake. Almost every living soul had succumbed, and humanity teetered on the edge of extinction. Among the few remaining survivors, we meet a small family: Abigail, a young girl, her mother, her brother, and her father, a pilot working abroad. Abigail's father, desperate to keep his family safe, reached out to them from his location, telling them to come to him. His place was one of the last safe havens. With hope burning bright, Abigail's mother quickly packed their belongings. They prepared to leave their home, unaware that their journey would be cut short by the very thing they were trying to escape. A zombie, ferocious and fast, attacked them as they attempted to flee. In an instant, Abigail's mother and brother were bitten. The transformation was swift, and within moments, they became the very creatures they feared. Abigail, terrified and helpless, ran and hid under a car, watching in horror as the last pieces of her family succumbed to the infection. But just as her infected mother advanced on her, a figure appeared, a man named Cassius. A soldier, sharp-eyed and unflinching, he shot and killed Abigail's mother before turning his weapon on her brother. "Close your eyes and ears," he instructed Abigail, a heavy sorrow in his voice. She obeyed, but the weight of what she had just witnessed would haunt her forever. 10 years passed. The world as it once was no more. The human population had dwindled, and the zombies now ruled the earth. Survivors were few, and their lives were an endless battle for survival. Cassius, who had become Abigail's protector and father figure, taught her how to hunt, fight, and stay alive. They had traveled together through forests across barren landscapes in search of something, anything, that resembled safety. Their nights were spent in the wild. They camped in the forest, with bells hanging from wires around their tent to warn them of any approaching zombies or predators. Cassius carried a map, one that pointed toward an island he believed might still be safe, a place untouched by the virus. Hope was fragile, but it was all they had left. One fateful night, as they slept, the bells rang. Something or someone had breached their perimeter. Cassius leaped into action, grabbing his gun. Outside, a zombie lunged at him, but he was quick to react, shooting it dead before it could cause harm. It was then they realized more were coming. They moved on, and not long after, they stumbled upon a car under siege by zombies. A man inside was desperately shooting at the attackers. But as they watched, a zombie crept up behind him. Without thinking, Abigail fired her gun. Her shot missed the target and struck the man instead. He fell, mortally wounded. Cassius was furious with her. "Don't act on impulse," he scolded. But despite the mistake, they needed the supplies the car held, so they took what they could and prepared to leave. But as they did, a convoy of armed men arrived, guns drawn. Tensions escalated quickly, but then a woman named Megan, heavily pregnant, emerged from one of the vehicles. She spoke calmly, assuring them that they meant no harm. Before they could process what was happening, hundreds of zombies arrived, attacking without mercy. A fierce struggle followed. It was chaos, yet in the end only Cassius, Abigail, Megan, and her husband David managed to escape in a vehicle. Everyone else fell to the zombies, and even those who died would rise again as the undead. Cassius, in a moment of fury, killed the partner of an alpha zombie, which set off a chain reaction. The horde became even more relentless, chasing the survivors. Inside the car, Megan revealed their destination, a colony in the northeast. They had made contact with people there, and it was the only place left where the virus hadn't reached. Cassius was skeptical. "There is no such place," he told her, but before they could argue further, their car broke down. Forced to continue on foot, they made their way toward the supposed safe haven, but it was clear the journey would be treacherous. Along the way, they came across an abandoned city and decided to rest in a nearby building. Cassius, ever the leader, consulted his map again, noting that they were still far from the island. Megan and David, however, were determined to continue to the northeast, and after a vote, it was decided. They would press on despite the risks. The next morning, as they prepared to leave, disaster struck. A zombie attacked Abigail, but she fought back, throwing it from the building. The group quickly moved out, but soon after, the zombie horde arrived. Cassius, ever prepared, set a trap, which resulted in a massive explosion. The alpha zombie, enraged, led the horde to them, pushing the survivors to move faster. Days passed. Their destination seemed farther and farther away, but Abigail, ever resourceful, recalled an airport where her father had worked. "Maybe we can find help there," she suggested. Cassius hesitated, deeming it too risky. But Megan and David sided with Abigail, and after a brief argument, they set off for the airport. When they arrived, there was nothing, no sign of life, no planes, nothing. It seemed like a dead end, until Abigail noticed a hangar off to the side. Inside, they found a plane, but it was in no condition to fly. David, a mechanic by trade, took it upon himself to repair it, while Megan stayed by his side. Abigail and Cassius scouted the area, but their joy was short-lived. A horde of zombies was approaching. Panicked, they rushed to the plane, and despite its unfinished state, they boarded it, hoping for the best. As they soared into the sky, the relief of survival was palpable, but it didn't last. The plane's engine failed, and they plummeted to the earth. Miraculously, they all survived. Cassius, ever the strategist, pulled out his map again. 2 more days, he estimated. They would reach the colony, but until then, they needed rest. That night, Cassius shared the story of Abigail's past with Megan. How he had been forced to kill her family and raise her as his own. Megan, in turn, asked him to promise that if anything happened to her and David, he would care for their unborn child as he had for Abigail. Cassius promised, a solemn vow made in the dark of the night. Meanwhile, David, who had been hiding his infection, struggled. His fever spiked, and his body burned with the early signs of zombification. The love he felt for Megan kept him from taking his own life. But as his condition worsened, Cassius grew suspicious. He confronted David, who confessed he was infected. With no other options, David decided to sacrifice himself, telling Megan and the others to continue on without him. At a house in the forest, they found temporary refuge with a man named Norton. But Norton wasn't as he appeared. After drugging their drinks, he revealed his true nature. He had been feeding survivors to his zombified wife, using a device to control the undead. It was a trap, and the group narrowly escaped after a brutal confrontation, with David's condition deteriorating rapidly. The group pressed on, but the journey became even more perilous. David, now a zombie, was killed by the alpha zombie, his neck snapped in a final act of cruelty. As the group rushed toward safety, chaos unfolded behind them. Several ravenous undead gave chase, their snarls echoing through the valley. But just as it seemed escape was impossible, the colony's guards sprang into action, opening fire and swiftly taking down the pursuing zombies. A few, however, including the ominous alpha zombie, managed to slip away into the wilderness. Now safe inside the colony, the trio took a breath. The colony itself was a makeshift haven, built around the ruins of a long-abandoned dam project. The area was surrounded by half-sunken ships and crumbling structures, forming a strange blend of safety and ruin. But danger wasn't the only thing brewing. Megan suddenly went into labor, her face contorted with pain. Thankfully, a compassionate woman from the colony stepped in to assist her, offering care as Megan struggled through childbirth. By the next morning, a new figure approached the colony's edge, Norton. His obsession with controlling the undead hadn't faded. He still clung to his twisted belief that the weak must be purged and only the strong should survive. Meanwhile, inside the colony, life and death came hand in hand. Megan gave birth to a baby girl, but the moment of joy was short-lived. Tragically, Megan passed away not long after childbirth. Cassius, stepping up without hesitation, vowed to protect and raise the newborn. As days passed, a new friendship began to blossom. Abigail grew close to a young boy in the colony named Roderick. Bright and spirited, he showed her around the fortified settlement. He revealed a network of deadly traps, carefully rigged explosives positioned throughout the colony, and a hidden escape tunnel that led outside. But trouble was already on the horizon. Norton, using his device to command the zombies, led a horde straight to the colony's entrance. In no time, the peace was shattered. Zombies burst into the colony, throwing everything into chaos. Screams echoed as terrified residents scrambled. Some tried to run. Others fought back, shooting desperately. In the midst of the madness, Cassius and Abigail took charge. They began directing the survivors toward the escape tunnel, trying to lead as many to safety as possible. But as they reached the tunnel, Norton reappeared. This time, not as a savior but as a direct threat. He lunged at Cassius, and the two engaged in a brutal struggle. Amid the fight, Cassius managed to smash the device strapped to Norton's arm, but the danger was far from over. As Abigail helped evacuate more survivors, the alpha zombie emerged and lunged at her. In the tense moment, her eyes caught something unexpected, a bracelet on the zombie's wrist. Her breath caught in her throat. It was the same bracelet she had once given her father. The realization hit her hard. The alpha zombie was her father, transformed into a monster. Before the creature could strike, Cassius reached her just in time. He pulled her into the tunnel, and together they made their escape. At the same moment, Roderick, staying behind to protect the others, detonated the explosives. The colony erupted in a fiery blast, wiping out the undead swarming within. But the battle wasn't over yet. The alpha zombie had survived. Badly burned but still moving, it attacked the last of the survivors. Cassius faced off against the creature in a brutal showdown. They fought with everything they had. And just as it seemed the alpha was about to overpower Cassius, Abigail stepped forward, her hands trembling, but her aim steady. In one heart-wrenching moment, she pulled the trigger. The alpha zombie, her father, collapsed, finally put to rest. In the quiet aftermath, with the dust settling and the screams faded, the survivors gathered. Under Cassius and Abigail's leadership, they followed the plan, to leave everything behind and head toward the safe island, a place they hoped could become their new home. And so, their journey continued, not without scars, but with hope lighting the path ahead. The story ends here, with a new beginning on the horizon. Thank you for watching.